that divine feminine awakening, we're meant to experience pleasure. Our purpose is joy. Your purpose is not to heal people. Your purpose isn't to make a bunch of money. Your purpose isn't to have a bunch of kids. Your purpose is to experience joy. To grow is just going to happen. That's this reality. That's this life. Joy and pleasure. That's your choice. That's your purpose. So if you're going through a hard period, or maybe you're just kind of going through the motions, how can you focus on joy? How can you focus on milking those moments of happiness and fun and excitement in your day-to-day life? That's your feminine awakening. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Sovereign Self Show. I am your host, Lauren Chalantani, and this is a show you learn how your body, emotions, and every single thing in life are not in the way, they are actually leading the way. And today I'm doing a solo episode with me, myself, and I, talking about how to actually change. Maybe you're going through a dark night of the soul. Maybe this is your 5th dark night of the soul or ego death, whatever we want to call it. We know that's part of the spiritual journey. And to think that we won't ever have contrast, we won't ever experience a dark night of the soul, it's a bunch of BS. You know, when I started this journey, for some reason, subconsciously, I thought one day it's going to be rainbows and butterflies and I'm not going to have to grow. And we know that's not the freaking truth. So if you are feeling like you're in the middle of the shit show, if you feel, whether it's astrologically, the solar flares, you're feeling some ascension symptoms and maybe they're not going away. I have another episode I did a few months ago. I will tag it below about physical ascension symptoms. But what we're talking today is you're noticing a pattern. You're noticing a shadow, something about you that you might not like, that you realize is not in alignment with who you are, is not fun. It's pushing away the things that you want to manifest. It's pushing away the people in your life. And most importantly, you are realizing how much resistance you have to it yourself. Maybe some denial at first, some self-judgment, shame, regret. These are all huge symptoms that we are in the process of growth. And, we've been traveling, my partner and I, since August last year. It's mid-May right now. And I had no freaking idea how much of an initiation and portal this would be. In plain words, how much of an ego death that would be for me. I had no freaking idea. And so this episode, I wanted to share, my process of it, how it unfolded for me, how even during the depths of it, what can we do? It was showing me, and what I feel like as a collective, a lot of women are coming up against this codependent energy that a lot of empaths have, whether you're in an abusive or narcissistic relationship or not, that's coming to the surface for us to heal and to step further into our divine feminine, which is full of purpose, pleasure, prosperity, freedom. So if you are ready to change something in your life, if you're seeing something in yourself that you want to let go of, then this episode is definitely for you. So to begin with, when we start to see pattern, for me, it always is like realizing that emotionally, I'm not as happy. Whether it's more of a depressed state, more angry state, irritated, I just start to notice things like maybe I don't want to get out of bed. Or another symptom for me is I don't want to fall asleep for some reason. And it's always helpful to start with emotions. How are you feeling day to day? What's your normal range of vibration? Not to say that you're not ever happy, but is it kind of more on the lower end? That's a huge telltale sign that maybe there's something coming up that wants to be seen, wants to be heard, wants to be felt. And the sooner we can be honest with ourselves, the sooner we can really process this and move through it healthily, not push through, not bypass. Actually, when we can own where we're at, it's a beautiful jumping off point into the transformation. Because if we're not honest, we can affirm the shit out of anything we want. I know this firsthand because that's something that I'm learning to let go of. Just being honest with where we're at. If you grew up as a perfectionist, overachiever like I did, I was the first child, and I think I learned, to perform, to get the good grades, to go to good school. And I love my parents that did the best that they could, that, what they thought to help me succeed. And there's still parts that I saw the past few months of me that were really living in this energy. And I didn't want to be honest with myself of actually how I was feeling. And it really took for me this ego death of traveling, of not having a home. We're staying in different places at least a month at a time, whether it's visiting family, Airbnb, or we've recently been doing pet sitting, which has been so fun because I miss having animal and dogs. Just beautiful sources of love, connection to source. And that lack of root, your root chakra really activated a lot in me. And God bless him, my partner. This has been such a growth experience for both of us and our partnership. It's probably been some of the hardest and most difficult times because of how stubborn I was. I'll speak from my side of it. I'm not thinking that denying my own vibrational state. And it's really easy to talk the talk, right? And I see so many people doing this work, and maybe behind the curtain, we aren't practicing it as much as we can. That's where a lot of the imposter syndrome might come up. And no judgment, but for me, it was like I was asserting over actually how I felt. And like I said, it kind of comes back for me to the perfectionist, trying to perform, to anticipate other people's needs, to anticipate other people's perceptions of me. And there goes the codependent. And if people listening to the show have been in an abusive relationship, emotionally or physically, or what have you, you understand kind of that dynamic as a codependent. And what I was learning the past few months is really to let go of those coping mechanisms that I learned in childhood and played out through a lot of relationships that were not healthy, to be secure in how I'm feeling with a partner, with a healthy partner. And so this journey for me really looked like, okay, I'm not happy. Okay, I am angry. Okay, I am depressed. Oh, a lot of anxiety again. I thought that this was something I healed many moons ago, but really being able to take a look at in the moment, oh, I am feeling tension. I am feeling anxious, and start from there for myself, not for anybody else. Because healing this codependent energy, and I think this millennia of women, that the martyrdom, the codependent, the empath side of us is to take care of everybody, to anticipate everybody's needs, to do it all. And now with post-feminism, to do it all as a caretaker and provide and have a full-time career. And not to say we can't do that, but I think that we need to take a look at how we're feeling. What do we really want? Who are we doing this for? So the past few months of traveling, almost a year really, has shown me taking a step back from my business, a little bit from the podcast as well, and social media. Who am I doing this for? And that was a tough question I didn't want to answer, but really what came up was still this almost performative act. And not to say that anything that I'm doing now is really different, but it was just having to take a look and being honest with, if I didn't post on social media all the time, if I didn't get the likes or the downloads on the podcast or the clients, how do I still feel about myself? And maybe a lot of you, like me, think that, whatever, not a big deal. But actually, it messed with me. It messed with me. And so there was, I don't even know how long, a few weeks to a month, where I got deleted all social media, still posted the podcast, just automated it because that reason. Who am I? Who do I think I am without the external? Can I still be that light worker, that priestess, that very spiritual woman? Can I still see myself like that without having to put myself out there, actually helping people? What does it really mean just to put myself first? So bringing it back to the codependent energy, I see in myself and a lot of women we are learning to let go of the manipulative, the emotional, the radical, doing things for other people to like us, to approve of us, outsourcing our own intuition, our own emotional guidance system outside of us. That's a huge, huge, huge thing. Because as empaths, we really pick up and anticipate, whether it's our caregivers growing up or our partners, people closest to us, their own energy first. And we allow that to override our own wisdom, our own intuition, our own energy, because that's how we learn as a coping mechanism to stay safe, to anticipate other people's reactions. But as this time of collective awakening in your own awakening journey, you're probably realizing, just like me, there's layers to the game. There's layers to letting go of those old coping mechanisms that you thought that you probably healed a long time ago. And whether you're by yourself, beautifully single, or you are in a healthy partnership, this is a time, I truly believe, that we are here to let go of those old patterns, that old paradigm of partnership, whether it's partnership first with yourself and eventually with a sacred other, part of your sacred union. And for me, at times I really felt like I was going crazy. I think hormones are starting to shift. I'm in my late 30s now. Everything is happening for me, but really seeing clearly parts of myself that I don't want to repeat. I don't want to bring into this next stage of my life. I don't want to bring into being a mother. And that was a huge awakening for me. So how do I begin to change when I feel like everything was triggering me? I was back to the anxious part, beginning of my journey, where just talking with my partner would just make me so tense. And he's such a beautiful, caring, spiritual, and very intense at times, but very loving human. It was nothing he was doing. I had to realize, oh my gosh, this is me. This is me going through this huge ego death. So I got really clear. And if you are going through any transition, whether it's healing codependency or not, getting really, really clear on behaviors that you don't want to bring with you, the behaviors, the actions, the thoughts that are associated with this pattern of being. So for me, something that really, really helped was things not to do. So when you're triggered, right, a lot of times we want to get defensive. We want to get angry. Because if you're in a victim state, being angry feels a little bit better. Nothing wrong with that. Learning to process in a healthy way. But when it becomes a pattern and you get stuck just in those two emotions, it's time to do things differently. So for me, one really easy way to start shifting that energy is realizing every time I want to explain or defend or respond, I just don't. I shut my mouth, I take a few breaths, allow that energy to pass, and it doesn't mean I don't say anything at all, but it's a very long, extended pause, if not nothing, because 99% of the time, when we respond from the trigger, we don't actually need to be responding at all. So getting clear on, okay, where I'm at, what are some of these behaviors, what's an easy cue that you can stop doing to help just allow yourself to start shifting into this growth that's already here. And one of the main reasons why, if you are trying to change or heal and you're feeling really uncomfortable during this ego death right now, this dark night of the soul, is because your inner being, your soul, is already expanded. And the state of being doesn't align vibrationally with already who you are. So that's why it doesn't feel good. Abraham talks a lot about this with our emotional guidance system. And that really, really helped me to think, oh, the reason why this is coming up, because it's no longer who I am. This doesn't feel great to be stuck in this victim, codependent, angry self, because it's no longer in alignment. And something to really remember when you're going through a hard time, my heart goes out to you guys. And I think it's tough to remember to use these tools when you're getting burned to a crisp, down to the ashes, goddess Kali's coming in and burning everything down, is that your natural state, everybody's natural state, is well-being, is happiness, is abundance, is pleasure. So it's not about fixing the triggers. It's not about fixing the anxiety or whatever's coming up in your life. It's really about remembering that well-being. It's not that the anxiety or the triggers are who you really are. And that really, really helped me to just tune into my energy throughout the day and remember my well-being is my natural state. There's a beautiful book by Richard Dotz. He writes a ton of different books on manifestation. Dollars flow to me easily. And in this book, he does this really easy visualization where you close your eyes and you imagine you're in this beautiful field of flowers as far as you can see. You don't actually have to visualize every single flower to know that they're there. All you have to do is open your eyes and remember you're already there. And that's what I mean when I say your natural state is well-being. Sometimes we so identify and get caught up in the healing journey that triggers who we don't want to be anymore, the uncomfortableness, the victimhood of it. It becomes who we are, and we forget really if we just spent less time worrying about fixing things and healing things and just focus on what felt good for us, we would be able to shift out of this and grow a lot faster. And what I saw in myself and a lot of women that I work with, when we go through these dark periods of time, we tend to forget that. A lot of us have done the deep shadow work, know what it means to really dive deep into the belief systems, the past lives, the energetic ties, all the karma, whatever. But then we get stuck there. And I see it time and time again. It becomes part of the identity. It's like, oh, I don't want to bypass. I don't want to get caught up in this toxic positivity. But do you really want to get stuck in victimhood the rest of your life? Do you really want to be stuck in depression and anger and just repeating that cycle with anxiety? So there really comes a time to ask yourself, am I looking at this dark night of the soul? Am I looking at this ego death or whatever is coming up in my life right now? Am I looking at it as a problem? Or am I starting to shift my focus to the solution? Einstein said that the same level of consciousness that created the problem is not the same level of consciousness that has already created the solution. So what I mean by this is follow your highest excitement. Bashar talks a lot about this. Follow that next best feeling thought. That's an Abraham practice as well. A lot of these teachers are saying the same thing. Yes, acknowledge where we're at. Be aware of the bigger pattern. Be aware of the habits, the thoughts, the emotions associated with this so we can actively choose and get out ahead of it in the moment. And stop worrying about it needing to change. Stop worrying about things needing to manifest or getting better. Stop trying to fix it. You're constantly looking for things to change. And when we're looking for things to change, that means we're constantly trying to grab something that's always going to be out of reach. That is a problem mindset. That is a lack mindset. It's always going to be outside of ourselves. But when we can do something very, very simple as just doing something fun, that is one of the most powerful spiritual practices we can do. I think I know we overcomplicate it because I'm with you here of thinking that we need to be stuck in the deep shadowing work. It's so important, but we're here to enjoy our lives. And I think this is the full picture here. I want to loop all of this together of that divine feminine awakening. We're meant to experience pleasure. Our purpose is joy. Your purpose is not to heal people. Your purpose isn't to make a bunch of money. Your purpose isn't to have a bunch of kids. Your purpose is to experience joy and to grow this lifetime. Actually, to grow is just going to happen. That's this reality. That's this life. Joy and pleasure. That's your choice. That's your purpose. So if you're going through a hard period, or maybe you're just kind of going through the motions and want to not do that anymore, how can you focus on joy? How can you focus on milking those moments of happiness and fun and excitement in your day-to-day life? That's your feminine awakening. It can be as simple as enjoying your cup of tea, enjoying your cup of coffee, and slowing down. Because when we continually rush through things, we're not fully experiencing them. Heck, it might even be slowing down and enjoying the suffering of whatever is your physical body that you're trying to heal, some emotional thing like codependency that might be coming up for you. Diving into our awakened feminine is here to allow us to remember that, yes, as women, we are literally creators. We have the ability to birth something from the void, whether it's a baby, a business, a home, whatever we want to create. And to do so with so much reverence for life, for ourselves, in this beautiful state of joy and excitement. And not because we think we need to prove anything to anybody else or ourselves, but because it's fun. It's fun to create. It's fun to grow. It's fun to experience new things. And an easy way to do that is just to slow down. I think my last solo episode actually was the whole episode on that. How can we slow down to manifest faster? And how can you in your life start to tune into your own feminine energy? For me, food is a great way to enjoy a nice piece of chocolate, to lovingly touch ourselves very slowly. You can just caress your arms, your face, very gently. Really allows us to come into the moment, come into our body, and to experience pleasure. Yes, sexually as well, but it doesn't, you can do it any moment in time. And I just started to read Mama Gina, as she used to be called, Regina Thomas Howard's book, Pussy and Reclamation. And that's what it all talks about. She says, hey, if women, part of our body, our anatomy, the clitoris, is fully only purpose to experience pleasure. As women, our purpose is to experience pleasure. It doesn't mean that you can't do all the things and be superwoman, but bake it into your way of being. Bake it into every moment. Bake it into the transitions from one task to the next. Take a 5-minute breather. Take a 1-minute breather, whether it's stepping outside, walking on the grass barefoot, grounding your energy, caressing your arms, enjoying that cup of coffee, enjoying a kiss with your lover, whatever it may be. That is what tunes us into our own divine feminine energy so we can live a life of that pleasure from that vibration. And guess what? All the suffering, all the problems, all the anxiety, the depression, the anger, the wanting to change things, that was all leading to the embodiment of the pleasure, the purpose, the divine feminine prosperity awakening inside of you. Sometimes that contrast needs to happen to remind us, to guide us, to look at this situation differently. And I'm just so honored to be able to share this with you guys. I am starting to feel more like myself again just by that simple snap of practicing choosing that joy in the moment, because what it does is we're able to actually see ourselves differently, but the bigger picture at a higher vibration, at more of a bird's eye view, rather than when we're at a lower vibration, we're only able to focus on that problem. So we're just going to keep riding out that hamster wheel. And I know if you're listening to the show, you are here to make a massive impact, massive income, but do so with so much heart and pleasure and juiciness for life itself. I really hope you guys enjoyed this episode. It felt so great to share this journey. I'm here walking this path with each and every one of you. If you're in the process of changing right now, or maybe just on the other side, feel free to leave a comment on whatever podcast platform you're listening to, or my favorite on YouTube. We have our full video episodes now. Leave that comment below. I'd love to hear what you think of this episode, but what other juicy feminine tricks, a way of being to really shift out of that state of separation and fear and that problem into the pleasure and the solution and that creation energy. Thank you guys so much for listening. It's such a pleasure being with you today. Until next time. And that's a wrap for today's episode. I wanted to remind you guys that this show is sponsored by Golden Rule Mushroom Company. And by using code Lauren10, that's LOREN10, you can get 10% off and start exploring how these functional microdosing mushrooms could support your health, mind, body, and soul. Thank you so much for listening, and until next time.